Hello, class. Okay, today I'm going to show you how to complete the lesson plan template. So you noticed on Blackboard there's assignment. Last week we talked about what EdTech tool you're going to teach with and you're going to create a lesson for. If you weren't in class, then you're going to need to sign up for that, but you can still watch this video and learn how to fill out this lesson plan template. This lesson plan template is very simple. I know you're new to learning how to write lesson plans, and so it just has a very few steps. So I'm going to kind of go through it. Here, I've already started a sample lesson plan. So I have a lesson title here. We're going to be creating a timeline, and it's about Arkansans' contributions to history. So I'm going to call it Arkansans' Contribution Timeline. This is a 7th grade Arkansas history lesson. So that would be what you would put here, your grade level and the content area. So is it going to be a math lesson? Is it a history lesson? Is it physical education? And what grade level? If you're doing something maybe a high school and it has multiple grade levels, maybe music, you're not particularly like just 9th grade, then you would say high school and then, choir 1 or whatever the number is. And then the technology tool is the tool that you were assigned or that you chose. So here, nobody has TimeToast, so that's why I'm choosing it, so y'all can't steal my ideas. So here I put the link and I wrote TimeToast. Okay, so now the next part is for every lesson that you teach, you need a content standard and a student standard. So you need to start exploring what you now know the tool, you've been practicing with it. So you need to explore an Arkansas standard. If you decided that you want to do 7th grade history, then you're going to find one there. So I've pulled up the Arkansas standards. I just did a Google search here. I'll show you how I did it. I did a Google search for Arkansas frameworks, or if you put in Arkansas standards, it'll show up. If you go to the whole thing, it'll be there. Some of them are kind of there. You can see math, social studies, English. I'll go to the whole website so you can see. If you scroll down, all these over here, you go to your content area. So I'm doing social studies. So I'm going to click on that. I scroll down and you'll notice it has per grade link, K4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to go Arkansas History 7, 8. I prefer the PDF because it just opens in your browser and it's a lot easier. So then when you look in here at the standards, you're going to have a lot of standards. Everything's kind of built in a different way based on the content, but here, like I can see there's geography. I'm not really looking for a geography standard. I know in my mind that I want to teach about like timeline and history. So I'm going to go look at the top of my pages. And this only works in the Arkansas history or social studies. The other ones are kind of built different. See, those are economics, civics and government, history. So now I'm looking at history. Now I already pulled it up on another page. So I'm going to go over here. So here I found history, this standard right here, research contributions made by Arkansans in the field of art, medicine, politics, science, and technology. I knew that I had to use a tool for a timeline, and I was like, oh, this would be really good because I can use this. My students can research the contributions made, and then we can put it on a timeline and kind of say in the 20th and 21st century. There are other standards that would work here as well. This is not the only standard that works with this tool. But this is the one that I found. So I'm going to copy and paste that. This is in one of those situations that it is okay to copy and paste directly. A lot of times that would be plagiarism, but we're citing it here. So I'm going to paste it. This is my citation right here because that tells me exactly where it came from in the Arkansas standards. We don't want to rephrase this. The Arkansas government and Department of Education wants us to, this is what they want us to do. So they want us to copy and paste that because they want that exactly, that's the words that they want us to do. They want our students to research contributions, ... That's what they want. So we're going to put that there. You need to put this entire part so that when I read it, I know what the standard says because I don't have all the standards memorized. So if you just give me this number part, I'm not going to know what you're talking about. And then I'm going to have to go and look it up, and that's going to be frustrating for me. So make sure you copy and paste the entire thing. Also, it's important for you as a teacher because then you'll remember what your standard is. Also, make sure that you post this part. That's the citation part. If you don't post that, it makes it more difficult for people to know what grade level it was, where it came from. And so we need both components there. So all you have to do is copy and paste that. Now, Then you're going to have an ISTE student standard. This one may be a little bit more difficult for you because you're maybe not as familiar with the ISTE student standards, but you're going to Google ISTE student standards as well. On here are the student standards. If you look at the overview and see, do you think it's an empowered learner, digital citizen, knowledge constructor? Remember we talked about these the other day in class when we did the Google slides. So I was like, I think this may be a knowledge constructor. So I hit this view indicators and went down there. And so there's 4 different ones. This one, students plan and employ effective research strategies to locate information and other resources for their intellectual or creative pursuits. This is what my students will be doing in this lesson. Like, I know that they're going to go explore and do some research. Now, the time toast doesn't let them do that research. They're going to have to go do that research and they're putting it in time toast. That's okay because they're doing a component of this and we're just using this technology tool as a way to promote that. And they're going to be they'll use online resources to employ effective research strategies. They may use other resources. See here it says digital, online, print, using library databases and catalogs, using advanced tools and criteria, using a CRAP test. I don't know what the CRAP test is. We need to talk about it. Okay, so I'm going to, again, copy and paste that right here. The same situation. What part I've added and not part of the template. If that makes sense. You can leave yours black when you teach yours or when you make yours. Okay, now this part's a little bit tricky. You have an objective. So an objective is just sometimes our content standard up here is a little bulky. Sometimes a little bit too much information for a 20-minute lesson because your lesson's only going to be 20 minutes. And this research contributions, that may take 2 or 3 days in a 50-minute period. Or you may be doing this multiple times. So you may just be like, we're just going to focus on some part of it today. So you want to figure out what part are you going to focus on. And that's what the objective is. The objective just gets a little bit more focus than that content standard. So you can even use some of the same vocabulary as up there. So I still want my students to research contributions. So I want this to be simple and I want it to be measurable. And measurable just means that I want to be able to assess it. And I'll know that I can assess it. Research contributions, I can assess if they research something. So I'm going to continue to use that. Research contributions made by Arkansans, because that is what I really want them to do. I can't spell Arkansans. And I might put, continue in the fields of art, medicine. You know what? For this one, I'm going to say in the fields of politics. Maybe I'm only focusing on politics today. I mean, I could say all of them, or I could say science and technology. But for this lesson, I'm just going to say in the field of politics, and I might just say in the 20th century. So for today, that is all that I'm doing because I only have 20 minutes. So maybe I'm like, I'm just going to focus on this because it's really just too much to handle all of that. So I'm just going to simplify it. Now, as a teacher of 7th grade history, I will still be responsible for this entire standard up here. So I'll need to make sure at some point that I'm covering those other components and I'm covering the other century. But for today, in this 20-minute lesson, and the 20-minute lesson you're going to teach for us, you can break that down because you may not be able to cover everything. You may be able to. But this objective just kind of simplifies that. So that's what it is. So you can even add, if you want to get crazy, you can add like research contributions made by Arkansans in the field of politics in the 20th century. You might say research 3 contributions. You may want to give a particular number. So you could add that information if you wanted. So that way you would know, okay, they added 3. It gives the students a little bit more guidance. Like, how many do I need? You can say, you need 3. So that now you have all these components. Now you can actually write the lesson activity. You may have some activity minds in your head, but you need to make sure before you start planning the steps of activity, you might be like, oh, I want to read this really cool book, or I want the students to do this. You need to know, is there a content standard that aligns to that? Because this you're responsible for. So you can't just say this would be really fun to teach and then try to force the standard. You want to make sure before you start writing a lesson plan that there is a standard that teaches the thing that you want to teach. If there's not, then you're either in the wrong grade level or that lesson just can't be taught, because it's not aligned. And we want to make everything aligned. So here, the steps of the activity, you're going to keep it very simple here mostly because I'm going to see this lesson, and so I'm going to be able to evaluate it. But here, you just want to keep it simple for you, to kind of a guide for you and a guide for me to know what's happening in the lesson. But a lesson plan should be helpful to the teacher as well, so it should be helpful to you as you're teaching. And you're going to give me some detail because it's helpful for me when I'm grading. So those are the two components there. So let me go ahead and change my color. So the steps of the activity, pretty simple. You can just bullet point this to explain what you're going to do in the 20-minute lesson. So, you can pretend in your lesson that the students already have some knowledge. Maybe this is day 3 of learning. Maybe they've already learned how to use research tools or whatever. You can decide whatever prior knowledge this class is going to have, because you're not going to be able to teach them everything in 20 minutes. And even though we're saying this is 7th grade class, our actors are really, the people in our class are really college students. So they have a lot of prior knowledge. So you could say that they already know how to research online. Maybe they already know how to find appropriate tools. So we're just we've been researching, we've been talking about the 20th century, and we want to talk about politics. So you might say, let's, as a class, we will brainstorm political contributions during the 20th century. And then, that may take 5 minutes or, 3 or 4 minutes. And then you might ask class, what contributions did Arkansans make? And then maybe you could decide, do I want my students to work in partners or individually? So you might say, students will pair up and research contributions, research political contributions made by at least 3 Arkansans in the 20th century. So you're telling me what's going to happen, and we want this lesson to be very student oriented. I do not want to hear you lecture for 20 minutes. I do not want to hear you stand up there and tell the students what to do for 10 minutes and then they'll do it. I want it to be very much active. So even if you needed to tell some directions, you want your directions to be kind of short and sweet. And we want our class and your classmates to explore the tool and learn the tool, because that's how we want our students to use it. We want y'all to use it, we want the students to be the ones constructing the knowledge, not the teachers giving them the knowledge. That may be a paradigm shift for some of you, but your lesson will be much better and you'll get a much better grade if your classmates are doing most of the work. I do not need you standing up there talking the entire time. That is not going to convince me that you are a better teacher. That is not what great teaching is about. As I can tell, I'm already at 13 minutes on the lesson, so I've obviously been talking too long, but I wasn't able to be in class today, so this is the best I could come up with. But I'll try to start wrapping it up because I know my lesson is getting long. Okay, so students will pair up and research political contributions made by at least 3 Arkansans. Okay, and then students will summarize contributions and post an image and summary of contributions on TimeToast. So, maybe you've never used TimeToast. Our class has never used TimeToast before, so you're like, okay, I've just said this, but now I realize in my activities that I probably need to introduce them to TimeToast. So you may say, after they find this, you're like, students will create a TimeToast account. I I don't know if you have to create a Time Toast account, but you should know that. I should know that too. Yep, you have to sign up.